Okay, now that we've learned how to process all of these images using Adobe's Camera Raw 4, let's take a look at how we can save these settings to these images so that we can use them at any given time we want later on in the future. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these files here, and we're actually going to be able to save both of these at the exact same time, which is really going to save you time in the future. Let's say you had a folder full of images that you had made edits to. This is going to save you a whole lot of time rather than having to go in and save each one individually. So anytime you need to save all the files that you currently have open, just go ahead and select them all. Either Command A, Control A, or simply by shift clicking all of the files over there in your preview window. Now, there are lots of ways that you can actually save these images here, and I'm going to go through some of them right now. By default, there are 3 buttons down here that correspond to saving commands. There's the Done button, which is going to just say Done, and it's going to dismiss the dialog without opening the images at all. So you won't open these images in Photoshop. This is just going to say that you're done editing these photographs and please return me to Bridge. So that's essentially what that is. That's like a gateway back to the Adobe Bridge. So if you click Done, that would automatically exit Camera Raw. Now the other way to do this is to open these images, and when you open these images, you would open them in Photoshop and you would continue to edit them, but it would still save those settings into these files. So if you open these images into Photoshop, made some edits, and then saved them, you would still have not only the new edited Photoshop files, but you would have the Camera Raw files still stored in Bridge with your Camera Raw edits as well. But perhaps the best way to open an image in Photoshop is one that I've already shown you, and that's the ability to open in Photoshop as a smart object. And let's just show that to you one more time. The ability to do this is absolutely amazing, and it's something that I really want to get it in your head as the best way to edit Camera Raw files inside of Photoshop. Let's go ahead and hold down our Shift key, and when you hold down your Shift key, you'll get this little new button down here that says Open Objects, and what that's going to do is open these files in Photoshop as smart objects. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and Photoshop's going to launch, and once it launches, these files will be opened inside of Photoshop as smart objects. So here they are inside of Photoshop, and what I want to do now, let's say that I've brought these into Photoshop, and let's go ahead and we'll throw on just a quick hue and saturation adjustment layer here. We'll go ahead and desaturate this layer, click OK. Now, once I do that, let's say that I want to go back in, now that I've seen this grayscale conversion, let's say I want to go back in and I want to tweak some of the tonal areas of this image using Camera Raw. Well, all I have to do is double click on that smart object icon to open Adobe's Camera Raw again. And I can come in here and let's say I want to just increase the exposure just a little bit. Let's brighten up those areas a little bit more. I'll go ahead and click OK. When I do that, it's going to come back into Photoshop, automatically update those settings, and allow me to continue editing those files. Now, when I'm finished with these, I can go ahead and I can close them up. I did that by using Command W on the Mac, Control W on the PC. I'm going to say don't save for these because I don't want to save the new Photoshop documents. But if I go back now into the Adobe Bridge, you'll see that by opening those objects in Photoshop, it automatically sensed that I was finished making those edits and allowed me to save those settings parametrically within these files so that my new, updated, correctly white balanced files are now the ones that show up in Adobe Bridge. So you have multiple options for saving files, but in the end, it all goes back to being an updated file right here in the Adobe Bridge for use in future projects. So by now we should know exactly what a RAW file is and if our camera can shoot in the RAW format. We should also know a little bit more about Adobe's new DNG format and how we can utilize Adobe's free DNG converter to put our objects into this new format and why that would be beneficial to us. We also know how to process our images using the white balance tools, temperature and tint sliders, the exposure controls, vibrance and saturation, all those different things. We now have a better ability to control all the aspects of our digital images using Adobe's Camera Raw 4.